So this is my first podcast to do from a mobile standpoint. I usually do it at my podcast studio back at my office. But when we set this up, I didn't know that my kid would have an academic convocation at 6:00. So I said, well, this is a great opportunity to take the podcast equipment on the road. So here we are. If you could see the concoction that I have set up in my car outside the coffee shop with the Wi-Fi, you'd laugh. But hey, we're optimizing every single minute of the day. That's the moral of the story today. Give me a background, man. I don't know a whole lot about you other than like the immediate season leading up to partnering with Ben. You were a student of Ben's, I think, and applied some of his framework. So I've been a student of Ben's for since 2016, 2017. I've been part of all the programs, all the group coaching things. And so I'm fascinated. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, where you were, what happened once you started following his paradigms and the things he teaches, and what that did for you, and all the things, man.
So when I was 18 years old, Wyatt, I went and served a mission for my church. And what that entails is when you're 18 years old, you submit in papers to go serve a mission for 2 years. And I ended up getting called to serve in Peru, in a place I'd never been. And one of the things that was required was to go learn a new language, go live in a new land, and just one 18-year-old go living by himself for the very first time. So what happened during that time period is I became obsessed with learning people. And through this opportunity to just serve, that was the only objective for 2 years. I learned a lot about how people operate. I learned a lot about God and Christ, and it was the most incredible experience for me. And during that time period, I also learned what it's like to lead people and what it's like to help them go achieve big things and get a group of people towards a goal. And I fell in love with it. And so at a young age, I tasted of this experience where I'm like, man, I want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to go get groups of people and help them go accomplish massive goals. And so about a year in, we kind of measure success to a degree. Success is measured in a lot of ways, but we want to bring as many souls unto Jesus Christ as possible through baptism. And so the last year of my mission, we were really intentional about increasing conversion. And we increased conversion in the last year by 500% in this land with 180 missionaries. And so I started experiencing these things, what we would call scaling, what we would call like genuine massive change in organizations and in leadership, and helping more and more people get amazing results, which the end result for us was helping people experience and come to know Jesus Christ. So it was the ultimate playground of helping people grow, and was so grateful for it. So when I came home, I'm 20 years old. I was really wondering, man, how do I go do this for the rest of my life? How do I go experience what I just experienced? And ultimately what ended up happening was my mission president, who is kind of like, call him the CEO of our mission. He gave me some feedback, and he said, like, if you want to go home and you want to be successful and you want to go serve, go learn sales and go learn entrepreneurship. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I go home and I start a couple different businesses, really small scale, window washing, Christmas lights, and get amazing entrepreneurial experience. It's kind of the first typical to-do entrepreneurial ventures. And after about a year and a half of doing that, I had a buddy come to me and said, hey, come do door-to-door sales with us. And for those that are familiar with Utah, most of these return missionaries that just worked for 2 years for free, they're often the target to go do door-to-door sales, but this time paid, and it's commission only. So I said, you know what, I'll give that a try. That sounds interesting. But also I was kind of excited about getting back out and knocking doors again all day. And so I went out, and my first summer I made $118,000 at 21 years old selling pest control. Dang. And I was like, this is cool. Okay, this is amazing. It was commission only. And so from there I said, man, how do we grow this? How do we scale this? And so I went and got 40 of my good friends and went again the next year and quadrupled my income. And then the next year got 125 of my friends and tripled my income. And year after year just kept experiencing amazing, amazing things. I'm so grateful for it. And so I did that for 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, it had gotten to a point where it was pretty self-managed, and we were having a lot of success. And I realized I was ready for a new game, and I needed to go learn. I needed to go get uncomfortable again. I needed to go scale something again. And so around this time period, I've been reading one of Ben's books, 10X is easier than 2X. And I love this mentality, this different take on growth and on scale specifically. And most people, when they think of scale, they think, okay, I just got to go do a lot more work. You know, I got to go hit twice as many doors. I got to work more hours. I got to have more people, more. And for the first time, I realized, no, there's a better way. And it's just through thinking better and having better strategy, better people. And so as I began to deploy that, I just said, man, how do I go like help other people do this? Flash back to 2021, a couple years prior to this period, I met Ben through my mission president, who was kind of my mentor at the time. And we kept in touch over the years. And so I was a part of one of his 90-day challenges. Were you ever a part of that, Wyatt?
Cool. I'm sure. Yeah. 90-day challenge. And then it upgraded to another challenge. And then it was going to end forever. And then we got a different thing. I think we went from platinum to gold and all the things.
Awesome. So you know what I'm talking about. And so one day, April 2024, I'm sitting in my office and I get this impression, and it came from God. And God said, I need you to call Ben Hardy. And Ben and I probably hadn't talked in 6 to 8 months. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I didn't. And a week later, I get this voice in my head again saying, hey, I need you to call Ben Hardy. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I didn't. And then a third time, and it's like, dude, you got to call Ben Hardy. And I don't feel like God talks to me a lot, but I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I called Ben. I said, Ben, in a world of fluff, you actually have substance. In a world of fluff, you actually have ideas that move the needle, that create results. And I just want to be a conduit. I just want to be an asset to help get those out. So that was our very first conversation, Wyatt. And flash forward 6 months of talking, you know, every couple of days, calling him, he came to my house and pitching him on this idea of potentially doing a company together. He finally said yes. And, he had a lot of opportunities at the time. The last person he probably would have ever said yes to was Blake Erickson. He had a lot of high net worth people with a lot of leverage and credibility saying, hey, let's use your skills. And I just think through the grace of God and having a good idea to say, hey, let's go take scaling to the world. Let's go where no one owns this niche. Let's go own this niche and go create amazing content and really help people grow in a world of business where everybody wants to.
And the rest is history. Here we are.
And the rest has been fun, man. It's been almost 18 months since that time period. We launched scaling.com May 1st. We just hit 6 million in annual recurring revenue. And our goal is to serve 5,000 entrepreneurs in the next 2.5 years and help them 10x their business in 3 years or less. And we're fully committed to doing that. We're fully committed to helping scaling become the norm. And we've had amazing experiences. We've had a lot of people experience a lot of results. And it's been an absolute blast up to this point.
That's so awesome, man. It's so awesome. Congratulations on all of the success and all the results that you guys are experiencing. That's crazy. I love it, man. I love your mission. I love the vision. I'm not going to say that I've had the impressions or the call from God to reach out to Ben, but I have had several thoughts that like I can be Ben's guy. Like I take that content, I internalize it, I use it. I'm a product of it in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of alignment. For me, the book that Ben wrote that changed everything was Personality Isn't Permanent. And for me, I think that as I look at the science of scaling, I can see the progression of all of the books and all of the content that he's taught, right, that prepared me specifically for what the science of scaling is bringing to the world. And so, in my capacity with the masterminds and the breakthrough weekends that we host and the sales training that I lead my people on, I am teaching a lot of that content in a lot of ways. And most recently, because Ben's going to be the guest speaker, the keynote speaker at one of our events coming up in October, just a couple of weeks. I've been traveling the country sharing the framework of the book and in anticipation of them all being at that conference to really hear directly from Ben. So they're immersed in it, right? So that we can make the effects of that conference that much more impactful. So I'm looking forward to all that we're going to cover at that conference. That's just awesome.
Oh,
man.
thank you. I'm so glad you guys are having him.
What is the feedback from the customers at scaling.com? Tell me some results. I mean, I'm in Ben's world. We were in Utah together, so we heard some of the feedback there, but give our listeners some insights on what happens when you start to think about the framework that is in scaling.com, and in different ways that it can be applied, because it can be applied in more than just money, more than just sales.
No doubt. A lot of people that experience what we call the scaling framework that we take them through and help them apply and implement into their business specifically, is the number one thing that they'll recognize out the gate is the way that they've been thinking is the reason that they are growing the way that they're currently growing. And in order to grow at an exponential rate or scale at an exponential rate, it will require them to think differently. And we really help flip the switch. And it really is a flip of the switch. Tony Robbins, when he wrote our foreword to The Science of Scaling, he said, what people don't understand is business is 80% psychological and actually like 20% the doing of. And what I think we really help people do is fix that 80% and narrow in that 80%. For example, we believe that the future shapes the present. And so just by simply creating a bigger future for somebody, I mean, that in of itself is just a massive game changer. When they begin operating from maybe instead of 2 million, they're operating from 20 million. The decisions they're going to make are going to be so much better. The people they're going to hire is going to be a much higher level. The processes, the systems, the technology that they create is going to be so much more scalable. The products that they choose are going to be so much more simple and a lot less complex. And so members often find immediately just by operating from a bigger future, things begin to shift. What we also teach in the book is the moment you start operating from a bigger future, your floor also raises. And the floor is essentially what you say yes to and what you say no to. We have a recent member that he owns a coaching program. He's been doing about $500,000 a year for the last couple of years, and he wants to go to 5 million in the next 3 years. And operating from that goal of 5 million, he realized that he needed to raise his floor specifically on his clientele. So before, he was taking anybody and everybody that would pay him money, and that was attributed to 500,000 of revenue. One of the things that he decided to do is he was going to raise his floor, and he was not going to take anybody that would pay him less than $250,000. And so a massive floor raise. And there was a time period since raising his floor that he didn't have people coming in like demand like before, but less is more. And the way to scale is not by doing more, it's by thinking better and doing different. And just last week, he landed his first client at $250,000, 50% of his revenue he did last year, he'll be doing through one client. And so it's amazing. It forces him to transform. It forces product to transform. It forces the value that he has to give to transform his business. And as you raise your floor, those miracles start happening.
Man, that is so awesome. There's so much to unpack in that God dog. But I think that gives me their words as to why following Ben's teaching over the last 8-9 years helps me understand the science of scaling, right? If it's 80% mindset, 80% thinking, and only 20% the doing, right? Like all of the things like psychological flexibility comes back to mind, and people being too attached to the memories of their past relative to, or as opposed to the imagination of their future, right? And freeing people from those memories and empowering them to dream and to think bigger is just I just love it, man. I could talk about it forever. So incredible. what's the vision for you in the next, what's the goal with scaling.com? How long is this going to last? What's next? What does the future look like for you? Is this 2-year deal, 5-year deal? Where's this going to grow into? What is this going to grow into?
Beautiful question. The goal genuinely is to create a formula, thought process that the output, when applied, creates exponential scale. And so however long it takes to effectively prove and show that, that is the game that we're playing. We want to change millions of lives by doing so, like permanently change business and entrepreneurship. But if you were to ask what scaling.com's impossible goal is, which is one of the concepts we talk about in the book, set impossible goal that you don't know how to currently attain. Our impossible goal is to do 120 million in revenue in 2.5 years from launch. So go from 0 to 120 in annual recurring revenue. And that is our impossible goal, man. That is all we think about, dream about. And the byproduct of that is making sure that we get amazing results and deliver an unbelievable product and hire unbelievable people. So all the things that are required to do so become a byproduct of that goal. But that is the mission that we are on pace and focused on, Wyatt. But as far as the time frame, man, we just want to alter entrepreneurship forever and help them scale.
Anything that I can do to help you guys, you got my number. Make sure that you use me inside of the GoBundance community. I've got another community that doesn't necessarily qualify for GoBundance membership that I lead locally in the Baton Rouge market. I'm obviously teaching these principles. They're business owners, they're attorneys, they're new young attorneys, builders, contractors, subcontractors. I love to teach people that don't think that they can get to where GoBundance people are, right? And inspire them with my own story, my own journey. And so whatever that looks like, as you guys iterate ways to bring your message and your framework to different people, definitely include me in that information, right? So that I can be an ambassador for you guys. I want to go back to that impossible goal because Ben shared that at the Utah event, and I never have, maybe he said it in the book, and I didn't pick up on it. But when you set impossible goals, it's only then that your brain can seek to solve that problem. He didn't say it in Utah, but if you don't set an impossible goal, if the goal you set feels possible, the way my brain processes that statement, it's as if your brain automatically switches off and it just goes back to autopilot. And then you just keep getting more of the same that you've always gotten. It doesn't even work to solve the problem. Is it really that harsh of a difference? Do we know? Do you know that?
I'd say you're accurate. When I think of the last 27 years of my life, I have been in environment. Everything has conditioned me to think linearly. Think about everything in life. Like if I want to go work out and get in shape or have a better relationship, we just think linearly. I got to go do more of this. It's already things that we've solved. But the moment you go to an extreme, it literally unlocks things that have not been unlocked before. And that's where nonlinear then falls. That's where like exponential growth comes in, is when you're solving things that you have yet to solve. But it also unlocks a higher level of thinking that you probably don't tap into unless you're actually going for that big of goals.
Yeah. Makes so much sense, man. I love it. So I know from the book, frame, floor, and focus. The frame is your identity, right? Floor is the standards in which you tolerate. Focus is that which you're optimizing for. One of the things that's funny, because I've got my whole team listening to the book. We've already listened to it. I've read it a couple times. And that leads to them listening to other things that Ben talks about. And they've subscribed to the emails, this, that, and the other. And he talks about this story of this guy that wants to scale his real estate portfolio. And he thinks that he needs to do that by having a podcast. And so after he has this conversation with the guy scraps the podcast. Well, I'm the guy that wants to scale my real estate portfolio. I'm the guy that's got the podcast. I don't know the story. I don't know those details. Do you have the insights on those details? I need somebody to tell me that it's okay to have my podcast and still scale my portfolio. Because I cannot imagine breaking up with the Mentee podcast, and yet I do want to scale my real estate portfolio. So I've really done some inward work on exactly where the podcast fits, why I'm doing the podcast, and really doing some work on what is it that I'm optimizing for. And I'll tell you what that is after you give me the answer of the insights of that story. And maybe if you know where that guy is right now, did he go back to the podcast, or was that the right
what's
decision?
funny is when I met you, one of the people at GoBundance came up to me and said, I can't remember who it was, but he came up to me and said, hey, I was that guy. At the same event that we were at, he said, I was the guy that was going to do the podcast. I didn't end up doing the podcast to scale my portfolio. Maybe I'll do the podcast in the future. So he did not end up doing the podcast. It's on the horizon once he does scale. But yes, it's somebody that you know, and
So it's a GoBundance guy. Oh, at least I got the roster from that event. I'll have to go back and do the process of elimination.
Hilarious.
That is,
man. Yeah. Tell me what you're optimizing for.
I'm optimizing for impact. So while I'm scaling the real estate portfolio, it's for so much more than what the real estate portfolio does for me. I'm optimizing for impact to humans and a specific demographic of humans. And so for me, I need freedom. I think I need freedom. I want freedom to be able to make the decisions that are important to me for the impact that I'm seeking to make. What does that mean in simplified terms? I want to take the workforce, like the working class, as well as, in a very specific way, teenage foster kids that are going to age out of the state's custody without ever having been adopted. They don't have families. They don't have, a lot of times, quality education. They suffer from trauma, right? Traumatic experiences, passing from one foster home to the next. Then the state just says, hey, you turned 18, you're cut off, right? There may be some version of a transition, but it ain't good, especially in our state. And I want to, so my vision is 25,000 doors. This is after the evolution of my vision is, first it was 5,000 doors in 10 years. Then I got with Jeff Woods and he introduced me to this whole concept. If you plan to hit your goal, then you're planning to fail because nobody ever hits their goal, right? So double the goal. So then it became 10,000 doors in 10 years. Then he introduced me to AI over the last 2 years. And that just kind of blew my mind in terms of what's possible. So we doubled the goal and then added 5,000 for shits and giggles, right? So it became 25,000 doors in 10 years. Then I read Ben's book, Use Time as a Tool. So I said, okay, I get it. So instead of 10 years, we're going to make it 5. So my impossible goal is to scale to 25,000 doors in 5 years. That's clear. In addition to that, I want a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a moat of personal growth and development, education, community. So if you could zoom out and you think about a company that does mentorship, training, education, community, and then within that, you're talking and teaching the people that actually work for you. The subcontractors, the employees, and all of those people that it takes to make the business turn, in addition to the customers. And you have the real estate assets, such as the 25,000 doors. We tap into AI, and we understand our customer, we understand our employees, we understand what their visions are, and we use AI to scale the conversations, the coaching conversations with our people. And then I'm able to go to the foster communities, right? I'm able to go to the foster communities and say, hey guys, let me welcome you into this ecosystem. And I don't really like the word ecosystem, but for lack of a better word, ecosystem. And we're able to start bringing them through we're able to bring them through Personality Isn't Permanent. through that content, right? We're able to bring them through coaching paradigms, coaching frameworks, where they're creating a vision for what's possible, right? They're creating their impossible goals, and then we're helping them with strategies, and then we're actually connecting them with the resources, whether it's our housing, our jobs, right? And providing them with the community, the housing, the ecosystem where they can come in, get trained, get a job, and start to be productive citizens in life. I don't want to ask people for money. I don't want to ask the government for grants. I want to just write the check. I want to just write the check. If I need to buy a fleet of cars because these kids don't have vehicles, then I'm just going to buy a fleet of cars, right? If I need to put them up in my apartments, then I'm just going to put them up in my apartments. If I need to scholarship them for training or give them jobs, like I want unlimited resources to do that. And I think in order to do all of that, right, we kind of reverse engineer to scaling for impact. I think that a phrase I like from Dan Martell, everything you want is on the other side of your reach and reputation. And as I drill down on what that means, who do I need to become in order to get to 25,000 doors? A holding company of service-based businesses. I think that I need people, I need capital, and I need deals. And so how do I then go find the people, the deals, and the money? It's the podcast, right? It's media, it's marketing. And that allows me to attract, right, the right deals, the right people, the right money, people that want to invest with me, understand our mission, people that are on the inside of my company right now get to listen to this podcast, and it directly affects and creates the desired culture of my organization that's required to then build such a company, right? So it sort of allows me to scale my vision. It allows me to scale my strategy by letting my people listen to it. Puts me in front of people like you, Ben, all the people that we get to come through the podcast. And so it's scaling impact, right? It's helping people live the good life. People need to be exposed to content. I don't have a book yet, right? So I have a podcast in place of the book. Anyway, I'll stop and listen for feedback. What you think?
Tell me this, if we had to set one goal, and there's multiple, we all have multiple goals, but if we had to set one goal that could solve all the other goals, and so I would call it the large domino, what would that goal be?
Money. Resources. My goal right now is tied to 200 million.
So if you made $200 million, everything else would be knocked down, all the other dominoes.
Yes. Yes.
Why real estate being the path to it?
Two reasons. One, well, maybe a couple, but if we were to just sort of sum it up into one, the finances of it, right? The tax breaks, the stability of it, hedging against inflation, and it's aligned with providing housing for what I would do with the money. I mean, these kids need a place to live. They have a place to live, right? And all the people that have the housing, then it's a funnel into our world. People rent from me, then I have their ear, and I can help connect with them because I am involved with housing as opposed to everything else.
That makes sense. And then since you set the goal of 25,000 the next 5 years, what's changed?
I have a deal that's before me that takes me from 175 doors to almost 500 in one fell swoop. And that's serving as a forcing function to get my act together with operations and a staff, a corporate staff, that then allows me to just go put deals in the hopper, right? Like it gives me validity, it gives me proof of concept, it gives me the finances to finance the operational team, but it also goes from, right, it's more than 100% growth in one deal. In addition to that, I've got more money today than I have deals. So now I'm trying to solve for the alignment of the money and the deals at the same time, right? But to find the deals, I need that person, that acquisitions person. To have that acquisitions person, I need that money, right? So this 280 unit apartment complex gives me 280 people, gives me the finances, gives me the operational cash flow. I don't have to ask people for that money. That's me being accountable to myself, right? That's no partners. And that gives me freedom, autonomy, right? I don't have to sell this mission to you or anybody else. So it allows me to self-fund the operations to then just start putting these deals in the hopper, right? Podcast allows me to scale that vision so that again, as I share with people, I'm looking for a deal, looking for talent, come to me, and then we scale that acquisition of talent. We scale that acquisition of the deal, and then it's just a matter of just putting them in the hopper, right? And then, hell, I go from 175 to almost 500, and then I think the next deal needs to be 500 or 1,000 units, right? And then I think the next deal we need to be 3,000 or 4,000 units, and then the next deal needs to be 8,000 or 10,000 units, right? And before long, we got 15,000. But it puts me in the arena where we're doing bigger and bigger and bigger deals. That's
the question I have is if impact truly is the goal, if that is genuinely the end goal, the number one thing we're optimizing for, how come we need to do, and I know your answer, we need to do real estate, we need to do this, we need to do this so that we could get there. What if we took out all the middle things and just went there? How would you solve that today? If you were only solving to make your impact and you didn't need to do the podcast, you didn't need to do the real estate, how would you go out and try to solve that today?
See, you put that little caveat, if I didn't need to do the podcast. That's kind of how I think I'm making the impact today, which is why I haven't rolled out the podcast. So the podcast, my role inside of GoBundance and my role inside of the Ascend Mastermind community is my way of leading with impact. That's my way of being impact first, real estate second, right? So when I am teaching, inspiring, and coaching all of my people, creating impact today, right? Getting feedback today, several conversations. People they didn't think that way. Wow, Wyatt, you have a gift of making me feel like I can do anything. It's because you can. You just needed somebody to tell you. That's where I love to live. And so the podcast lets me share that message with people. You get text, right, from people all over the world, right? Listen to this episode, man, keep doing what you're doing. Leading in my mastermind community, leading inside of GoBundance, all those guys. Like that's what takes a majority of my time, but that's where I want to be. And that allows me to then have the people that are building the company, right? I don't manage the 175 doors. I have a team that does that. So yeah, I think that you lead with impact, and from a business model standpoint, we're actually creating the culture of the business because I'm starting with the impact instead of starting with the house, starting with the apartments, and then trying to retrofit culture.
I'm wondering, and I agree with you. I think podcast is very aligned if the goal is impact. I'm wondering if the real estate play is the false requirement to get to that goal of impact. What's your reaction to that?
It could be. I'm open to that reality. My conversation would lead to, okay, so how do we grow the wealth side? With how do I check that box if it's not going to be real estate? Right, from a financial standpoint, just because I've been programmed and I'm aware that it's programming, that real estate is what wealthy people do to grow wealth, hedge against inflation, solve for taxes, and all those things, right? And I could easily justify that I don't pay taxes because of my real estate investments. And I take that money and I continue to grow my impact and grow the empire. If I did away with real estate, what would fill that spot? I don't know. I have to go solve for that.
I agree with you. The question is there a vehicle that you're not currently considering that's going to give you deeper impact, but you can still solve for the wealth, but it's fully aligned with impact versus, real estate creates the wealth, the podcast creates the impact. And then there's this piece at the end where the real estate helps create the impact. What if there's just one that did both every step of the way?
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's a great conversation. My brain is tempted to say that it's sort of aligned, or it's my brain is tempted to stretch to say that it is with this specific example. I bought an assisted living that was a 5,000 square foot house. We added on a kitchen, and basically it's an 11 bedroom, 12 bathroom house. And we're renting out the rooms, and we call it co-living. And so it's affordable housing. It's $1 million house, and people get to live in it for $800 a month. And that's turnkey. That's electricity, YouTube, TV, internet, weekly maid service, all the things. So we're creating housing that's affordable, all private pay for people that never could afford to live in such a nice house. And every single one of those people are strangers. But yet when they came together, it's kind of like church. It's kind of like ministry, right? We've got white, black, male, female, young, old, and they're cooking for each other. They're grocery shopping for each other. They become family in this house. And I think that's making an impact. It's giving them, that's a real estate that's specifically designed for that. If you think about what brings people happiness and how can you elevate the happiness levels of, let's just say, Americans, the research shows that they want discretionary income. And some of the fastest ways to create discretionary income is affordable housing. They can't afford today's housing rates. So how do we solve for affordable housing? Well, we create the shared economy and we leverage the shared space, right? So I feel like we're digressing. I could talk about this right forever, and maybe we were meant to have this conversation.
Hey, you are impacting, my friend. The question is, which one do you want to impact? Because they're two separate impacts. And the old Japanese proverb says, when you chase two rabbits, you catch neither.
Yeah, you catch none.
Food for thought, man. I love it. I love your situation. I love your goals.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. Dude, if somebody wants to connect with you, Ben, the book, scaling.com, is that where we're sending them? Scaling.com. Who is this for?
Anybody that's doing 500,000 of revenue and you're the decision maker of the company and you're like, man, I want to go have exponential scale. We are the perfect fit for you and you're the perfect fit for us. But you have to be fully committed to that. But we give the science of scaling out for free to everybody. If you want to go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, please go get the book. It's completely free. We just want to serve you and we want to impact you. And that is accessible to everybody on those platforms. Please check those out.
Awesome. Dude, this has been great. I appreciate your time very much, man. Genuine soul you were in Utah whenever we met, and then agreeing to come to the podcast. That's awesome. I know that my listeners will be fired up about it. I'm going to continue to share the message with Go Bros and my Sin Mastermind community folks. If I can do anything for you in South Louisiana or in any of the respective roles that I'm in, you got my number, man.
Will do, Wyatt. You're the man, brother. Appreciate you a ton. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, guys. Wyatt Graves here. As you know from previous episodes of this show, I'm on a mission to grow a business that has 25,000 doors, a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a protective moat of a personal growth and development educational company. With that being said, I am looking for deals, I'm looking for talent, and I'm looking for capital. If you're interested in connecting with me, go to my website, wyattgraves.com. Send us a deal. I will be sure to include you in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a real estate agent and you want to be my agent, you're welcome to be my agent if you bring the deal to me. If you're not my agent and you bring the deal to me, we will still get you paid somehow, some way. If you want to work inside of our world, then drop me a line, send me an email, connect with me. We're interested in attracting level 5 talent. And then finally, if you are an investor and want to invest your money, not only to get double-digit returns, but also to have real impact inside of the communities as we raise up the level of good life living throughout our properties with our residents, with our employees, with our communities, then I want to connect with you. Go to wyattgraves.com and fill out the contact information, and I will personally be in touch with you so that we can figure out how we can shake the trees together and win together. wyattgraves.com.